Hey, this is Dave from Unipro, and in this video, I'm going to react to Mark Zuckerberg's most recent comments with regards to artificial intelligence, virtual reality, the effects on employment and unemployment, and just predictions for the future of computing in general. He's made some very bold claims, very interesting claims, and if you're a business owner, this is going to affect you. If you use Facebook either personally or for business purposes, this is going to affect you. And if you're an investor in any company that's using AI, you're going to find this fascinating. So let's dive in. So like I mentioned, Mark Zuckerberg, he's had a lot of interesting things to say about the future of AI, the future of virtual reality, and computing in general, and the impact it's going to have on all of us, our lives, our businesses, our careers. And so let's take a look. This first clip we're going to look at is Zuckerberg responding to the question about whether people, consumers, really want to isolate themselves by putting on a VR or AR headset. So here's what he had to say.
I think that there's a space for, having a big TV or an entertainment station in your living room where you kind of do immersive things for hours at a time, like play games. I think that is a thing that I think people want. But, when I see these videos of people like wearing these devices walking down the street, that is not what we're designing this for. I do think that there's going to be a mobile version in this next generation of computing, and that's more going to be glasses.
I'm just going to pause here because his first comment about the idea of people wanting to do gaming or wanting entertainment on a big screen and being in their living room and saying that there is a desire for that. I agree, but I'll tell you a story. Recently, I for the first time, I experienced virtual reality in a gaming environment. Went with a bunch of my friends. It was my friend's birthday. And I'll tell you, we were all individually standing alone in our little compartments with our virtual reality headset on. And it did feel isolating. It did feel different than if we were all in a room, in a living room, participating with each other and interacting with each other. So I agree that he's right in saying that people want entertainment and they want to have big screens. They want to be able to do things in their living room. But from my experience, when you put on that headset, it does feel isolating. Let's see what he says about mobile here.
Started on that with the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses that we put out that are doing really well. It's in the second generation that we just put out. It's, we have Meta AI in there. There's a lot of really exciting use cases. I'm really excited to roll out the multimodal part of that, which basically in AI speak is like you can ask it questions using both the camera, so it's like look at what's around, and you can speak to it. So we have people doing stuff like going for a walking tour around Stanford campus, and they just like look at a building and they just ask the glasses. It's like, hey, look and tell me what is the significance of this building and the history behind it. Okay, what about this sculpture that's here? Tell me about that. And I mean, that's like pretty wild.
So I do think that's cool, the idea of wearing glasses that you can talk to and it'll give you information about what's going on around you in the real world. When he said that though, this does give me a little bit of flashback to maybe 10 years ago when Google Glass first came out. And if you remember Google Glass, this is one of the things that it promoted as well, is that it would see things in your environment and be able to give you information on those things. And we all know Google Glass died a very quick death. So do I think that people are going to really want to wear glasses so they can talk to their glasses and have their glasses tell them information about, using Mark Zuckerberg's example, a building on a campus? It doesn't seem like that's been popular in the past. I can't imagine that being a big thing going forward.
But I mean, yeah, look, people do spend many hours in front of, in front of their big screens today, either doing entertainment or productivity type things. And, increasingly even fitness oriented devices with things like Peloton or, big screen component of that. So will the future involve those activities, but in a more immersive version of that? Yeah, I think so. And I think part of what we need to do is make that social, right? So part of it is the mixed reality, so you can see the physical world around you and blend the digital objects into that.
I think that's actually a really good point, is this idea of giving people the entertainment experience and making it more immersive while still allowing them to not be in their complete bubble. Going back to, again, my experience with the virtual reality gaming, I felt like I was in my own little bubble. I didn't feel like I was there with a group of friends. And so giving that AR, the augmented reality, where there's some of these elements that are digital or virtual, and then also elements of real life so that you can actually interact with people, that seems much more appealing to me. Now, this next clip, it questions a point that Zuckerberg made where he said that his vision is that people will wear a headset in their homes, but not necessarily out in the street and out in public. He was kind of being grilled a little bit about people looking weird being out in public with this big headset. And he said, no, that's not the vision. The vision is that people will have their headset for at home, and then when they go out and interact in the real world, they'll put on glasses like he was talking about before. So there's sort of these two different form factors that'll work together depending on where people are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can think of the glasses as the next computing generation's phone, right? It's the mobile, truly you're using it on the go computing platform. Whereas I think the headset is going to be more the next generation's computer or TV screen. So the bigger screens that you have. And yeah, I mean, I think for most people, the phone is probably the more important device in their life. And I think that that's probably going to be true in this next generation, that the glasses are probably going to be the more important and more ubiquitous thing.
Interesting comment there, because mobile computing definitely has become more important. Again, I know for me, I use my mobile device way more than I use my desktop computer. And so he's saying here that these glasses, these Ray-Ban glasses or whatever brand of glasses they are that people wear out every day, that'll be the main place where they'll interact with AI or augmented reality. So I see the analogy there, and it's interesting because it's happened in our lifetime. We went from desktop computers to mobile computing. So I think that analogy is interesting, and maybe it could be.
But I think that they're both meaningful. And I also think technologically, there's a path where you want to build kind of this immersive kind of 3D content. And you can build it first in mixed reality because the devices, by virtue of the fact that they're a bit bigger, have more compute. So it's easier to build stuff there. And then by the time we get to glasses that can put holograms in the world.
So Susie says put holograms in front of the world. I think right back to Star Wars. You remember Star Wars when R2-D2 puts out that hologram of Princess Leia? That's what I envisioned. That seems super far out to me.
But the thing that I think has been really cool is, I kind of thought that smart glasses weren't going to be a like ubiquitous consumer product until we got to that kind of hologram and putting, digital objects, just overlaying them physically on the world. But then this kind of crazy thing happened in the last year, which is this emergence of these AI models, right, where you can talk to them and ask questions, and they can do a lot of things for you. So now I actually think that something like the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses is going to have much broader appeal than I would have guessed even a few years ago. I mean, when we started that, we thought of it as like the kind of intro project, working our way up towards holograms. Whereas now, I actually think a lot of people are just going to want that, right? Because it's an affordable product, it's a stylish product. It's like you don't need to cram a ton of technology into it. You can just it's like it has cameras, it has speakers, it has a microphone. You can talk to AI. It's you can take phone calls on it. You can listen to audiobooks while you're out there. It's it's pretty capable already.
So Zuckerberg went on to say that he expects people to go outside, interact in the real world. They've got these glasses on, seeing some sort of mixed reality, getting some sort of notifications, the ability to talk to AI. And he goes on to say that he expects people to be talking to AI all day long and sending it messages and getting responses from AI. And then he's asked the question, do you think that these AI-driven glasses are actually going to replace smartphones? So let's see his response.
Maybe I should clarify that. I think what tends to happen is that the last generation of computing doesn't go away, right? It's not like when we got phones, like people stopped using computers, but you do shift in terms of use, right? So like before, we probably used computers more, and then we got phones, and now I do a lot of stuff on my phone today that I would have done on my computer before, and that's clearly the primary thing. So what I think is going to happen is that glasses are going to become the primary mobile device. I'm not predicting that in 10 years, like we're not also going to have phones. I just think that like a lot of the time they're going to sit in our pocket when we're just doing stuff that we can do more naturally and in a more socially good way.
Okay, so I want to jump in here. When he says that a more socially good way, here's one thought I had, and I'm not against glasses. Maybe glasses will be the way of the future. But one thing, a use case that I thought about right now with our mobile phones is you can imagine you're watching a video, you got something that's funny, you know that someone else might want to see that. What do? You pull out your phone and then you take it over to them, and together you watch it. So there's this social connection over watching one shared screen. And so I imagine if we all have these glasses on, that will eliminate that, and I could see that moving towards this feeling of more isolation. I don't know, maybe you can beam a video to someone else, or you could sit side by side and watch it with your glasses on. That does seem a little bit more socially isolating, whereas Zuckerberg's portraying that as being more natural, or he used the word good. I'm not so sure about that.
Have something in your hand, or like take your kind of eyes away from the interaction that you're having and look down at a phone. So,
and that's interesting as well, is that he says that an advantage of wearing glasses is you won't have to take out your phone and look down at a notification. I'll share an example that I've seen in real life where I think that this is actually potentially more disruptive is when people have smartwatches on. Maybe you've had this happen to you before, and they get a notification on their smartwatch. What do? they look down at their smartwatch to see that notification. And if you're having a conversation with this person, you'll see that their eyes change and no longer are they looking at you, but they're looking at their smartwatch. So it's clear that their focus or their attention has been diverted. A thing that I'm not sure about is imagine if we're all wearing these glasses and you can't see that. So a person who you're speaking to is getting feedback or a notification or they're seeing something and they could be looking right at you, but really they're not looking at you. They're not focused on you. And so my question is, well, what does that do for human interaction when we all could be looking at other people and then again, sort of isolated with inside our own bubble of information or our own bubble of AI or augmented reality or virtual reality, not knowing that someone else isn't talking to us or focused on us when we think they might be? How does that change the way that we engage with each other? Okay, in this next clip, Zuckerberg addresses the idea that Facebook used to be all about the metaverse. All we ever heard Zuck and everyone at Facebook talk about was the metaverse, metaverse, metaverse. And it seems like that very quickly shifted to being all about AI. So here's what he had to say about that.
Well, we've been working on AI and the metaverse for a long time. I mean, those have been the two major kind of big tech bets for the company for like a decade. And the reality is that we're spending, if you just look at how much we're investing, it's like $15 billion a year at least into each of them. So yeah, I mean, what we talk about will vary at different points. And yeah, like what we see happening in the industry will help sharpen our product strategy and our sense of what we can be building.
So I appreciate what he just said there, basically saying that what people are excited about, what people are talking about, that's what we're going to be building. That's what we're going to be working on. And so clearly that happened is AI has become super popular. And so Facebook, I know he said they spend $15 billion on each. I would love to see past budgets and see how much were they spending on AI, say 5 years ago versus the metaverse. And my guess is that AI spending has dramatically ramped up as people have become more and more excited about AI and maybe not as excited about things like the metaverse.
Yeah, and in 21, 22, I think people were pretty excited about talking about the metaverse. Now I think we're in this mode where people are waiting for the products to get like more fully adopted, but like we're just kind of quietly churning and building this stuff in the background. Like I don't care that much whether something is cool 1 year or not. But yeah, I mean, at a moment when people have more questions about the AI work that we're doing, I think it's natural that you'll hear me be talking more about AI.
So the next question Zuckerberg gets asked is about whether he believes that AI is inherently dangerous or how worried is he about the potential dangers of AI?
Well, I'm really focused on open source, which is, I'm not sure exactly where it would fit on the continuum, but my theory of this is that what you want to prevent is like one organization from getting like way more advanced and powerful than everyone else. Right? Here's like one thought experiment is, okay, like every year kind of security folks and are figuring out, what are all these bugs in our software that can get exploited if you don't do these security updates, right? And it's like everyone who's using any modern technology is constantly doing security updates and updates for stuff. So if you could go back 10 years in time and kind of know all the bugs that would exist, then like any given organization would basically be able to like exploit everyone else. And that would be bad, right? It would be bad if someone was way more advanced than everyone else in the world, because it could lead to some like really uneven outcomes.
I feel like right now he's talking about Apple. So he talks about how he's behind open source. Well, the opposite of open source is closed source. And Apple's traditionally the company that has closed source for everything that they do. So I think this is like an underhanded jab at Apple saying, I hope Apple doesn't win the AI wars because that'll be dangerous. Whereas if we win and then AI becomes open source, then that's much safer. And maybe that's true. It's funny that he says closed source, but doesn't specifically mention Apple, at least not yet.
The way that the industry has tended to deal with this is by making a lot of infrastructure open source. So that way it can just get rolled out and every piece of software can kind of get incrementally a little bit stronger and safer together. So that's the case that I worry about for the future. It's not like, I mean, I don't want to write off the potential that like there's some runaway thing, but right now I don't see it. I don't see it anytime soon. The thing that I worry about more sociologically is just like one organization basically having some like really super intelligent capability that isn't broadly shared. And I think the way you get around that is by open sourcing it, which is what we do. And the reason why we can do that is because we don't have a business model to sell it.
Okay, in this next clip, he changes direction a little bit and specifically starts talking about how AI is going to impact labor, the workforce, and specifically unemployment. So is AI going to wipe out all kinds of jobs? Here's what he had to say.
Over the long term, I'm actually quite bullish that all these tools will give more people the potential to kind of do what they care about, right? It's like when I see my kids, it's like, they want to do all this creative stuff, and then we're like, go eat broccoli, right? And I do think that they like a lot of people I think maybe are not in the jobs that they would like ideally want to be in. And I think in the future, we'll just have the capacity to do more of that.
So I like that thought, and he uses the example of kids. His kids have all these creative ideas, and AI would maybe allow them to do things that previously they weren't able to do. But from a career perspective, I think that technology like this, AI technology, it does allow people who are naturally going to be learners, they're going to be adopters, they're going to go out and search out new technology, they're going to be creatives, and they're going to use that to further their career, maybe because they care about their career and they want to grow their career and they want to focus on building more wealth or building business, or those types of people could succeed even bigger and even faster with AI. The group of people who I think are more at danger are the type of people who work a job just because they need to pay the bills and they're not interested in having, their creative dreams fulfilled through career. Or maybe they're the type of people who, studying and learning new things like AI, that's not important to them, but they still want to work hard, they want to produce, they want to earn a good living. Those are the type of people who I think could be squeezed out of the economy, squeezed out of their jobs.
And yeah, I think that there will be a bunch of transformation that will mean that certain jobs, we don't do them in the way that we're doing them now. Certain things might get automated. But I don't know. I just think that the limit to human ingenuity, I don't know, it's either kind of limitless or extremely high. And I just don't think we're anywhere near kind of fulfilling that potential yet. So I'm much more optimistic about that. In terms of the layoffs and stuff like that, I actually think that that was more due to companies trying to navigate COVID and the pandemic.
I do definitely think that is true. So you had a really good point there about during COVID, all these businesses, particularly tech businesses, I'll use Amazon as an example, there's just huge demand and they needed to massively increase their labor force. And that after COVID, when things went back to quote unquote normal more quickly than maybe anyone could ever imagined, there's an oversupply of labor within these companies. However, I do think that happened a while ago. So Zuckerberg, he's making these comments in 2024. Are layoffs that are happening in 2024 a hangover from COVID? I think less so. I think more so, and we'll see if he addresses this. I think more so, it is companies becoming more efficient, like he was talking about a second ago, using new tools, using AI, using all these different methodologies to get the same amount or more work done with fewer employees.
So you had this wave of layoffs that were basically responding to that. But then you also had this generation of companies that knew nothing except growth. So the idea of like doing layoffs was just like, oh no, this is crazy. We like couldn't even comprehend that. But then they had to do it. And then I think a lot of companies went through this zone of thinking, hey, that actually, it didn't end the company. It was obviously really tough. We parted with a lot of talented people we cared about, but in some ways actually becoming leaner kind of makes the companies more effective. So now I think that there's another kind of wave that a bunch of companies are going through. I mean, we did this last year, but I think some companies are kind of still in this mode of thinking, okay, well, we're thinking about like how efficient and lean we should be. Maybe we should be a somewhat different shape than we are now to do the best work that we can.
Interesting that he used the word be more efficient and lean, because Facebook or Meta, the greater company, used the word efficiency. This is the year of efficiency. And that was during those layoffs that Zuckerberg was talking about when they laid off thousands of people, because the company needed to get leaner or more efficient and more profitable. Because who do they report to? Well, they report to shareholders, right? They're always looking to maintain their share price. And interestingly, as soon as Meta announced that this was going to be the year of efficiency and they're going to reduce their number of employees to really work at profitability, what happened to their share price? Their share price has just gone on a tear ever since then. So Zuckerberg, I appreciate again that he's speaking from experience. He's speaking the truth of what they saw inside of Meta. I don't know that that extrapolates across all other companies and why other companies are necessarily laying off, as I mentioned before. Okay, in this last little bit, Zuckerberg talks about the power of AI and what's an example or a use case of how we could see AI's power really impact our lives and our businesses in the near future.
I mean, I think the Ray-Ban glasses are going to enable, like already do and will enable some pretty mind-blowing things. And I think people always tend to think that these physical kind of manifestations of things are more impressive than just the software only ones. So I think having glasses that can see what you see, hear what you hear, you can ask it questions about what's going on around you. I do think the ability to, like I was saying, like walk around through some kind of historic place and just ask it to like look at stuff and explain to me what matters about this. You go into a store and you're like, okay, like, is this a good price for this thing? Or, it's like, what is this? Where else can I get this? I think that stuff is just going to be super valuable. Yeah. And it's only going to get crazier. So, I mean, some of the stuff that we're working on.
I feel like he's hesitating. I feel like right there he was thinking, should I tell them about something else? I feel like he's got something up his sleeve that he isn't sure if he should reveal or not.
How do you talk to the AI? Where it's like today, okay, you type on a computer or phone, and on the glasses you speak to it. And one of the wilder things that we're working on is this.
Here we go. He's got something for us.
Neural interface. And I don't mean like a chip that you jack into your brain. I think that, I mean, maybe in the future someone will do that, but I don't want to, I wouldn't want to use version 1 of that, right? I mean, let me just say, I think the one that we're working on is basically a wristband. And the way that it works is it's a neural interface in the sense that it, the way that your kind of brain communicates with your body and like controls the way you move is it sends these like nervous system signals to your muscles, and you can actually pick those up with an EMG wristband. And it turns out that there's like all this extra bandwidth and like all this extra signal that your brain can send that is not currently being used to move your fingers in the way that you want. And you can just like, you'll be able to in the future essentially just like type and control something like by kind of thinking about how you want to move your hand, but like it won't even be like big motions, right? So I can just sit here and I'm like basically typing something to an AI, and then, right now with the glasses, it basically can speak back to you. But in the future, I think you'll have something where it can speak to you, or there'll be a little display.
You can tell he's just nerding out. He's getting so excited here. What he mentioned there a second ago when he talked about bandwidth of the brain, the first thought that I had was there was this old movie now, I think it's called Limitless, where it was talking about that. It was like a pill that people could take, and it would basically allow them to use a greater percentage of their brain power. And unlocking that greater percentage of brain power just allowed them to do crazy things. That's what it reminded me of there, is having like a physical hardware system strapped onto our wrist or built into us somehow that allows us to tap into a greater percentage of our brain power, and that unlocking just huge efficiencies inside us. That gets me excited. So when he's talking about that, admittedly, I think that's pretty cool.
So I think you'll have this completely kind of private and discreet interface where you can like walk around, throughout your day, just like text different things, and you can like, text your friends, or you can text your AI, and then basically just get the response back in real time. So I think that is just going to be insane. And it's the research is like, it's like we've been working on this for a while. So it's actually, it's not a 1-year project, but we're quite a few years into it, and we're actually kind of close to kind of having something here that we're going to have in a product in the next few years.
So there you have it. Those are Mark Zuckerberg's own comments and his future predictions when it comes to AI and virtual reality and all kinds of different computing technologies and how they're going to impact us and our businesses and the way that we live. I'm curious to hear what you think. Is this a good thing? Is what Zuckerberg talked about a future that you would want to be part of? Or when he's talking about this, does this sound like some sort of dystopian future that would not be desirable to live in at all? So I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can drop those in the comments below. And before we wrap this up, I do want to mention an important technology that uses Facebook and uses AI to help grow your business. If you've never heard of Unipro before, you got to check it out. Go over to unipro.com. Unipro is a tool that goes out onto Facebook, and it uses all types of technology to find your ideal leads, to bring those leads over into your audience, to help spark engagement with those leads, to start conversations, and to move your best leads towards making a purchase from you. And it's using all kinds of technology that didn't exist even a few years ago. So it's really exciting about how this can grow your business faster on Facebook. It's been a game changer for my business. If you've never checked it out, go over to unipro.com. That's what I got for you in this video. If this video was interesting or it was helpful, give it a like. And again, I'd love to hear your opinions. Is AI something that's going to be more helpful in our society, or are there more cons that outweigh the pros? Drop your comments below. I read all of them and try my best to respond to as many as I can. So looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks for checking out this video, and can't wait to see you in the next video.